It's been 54 years since we first landed astronauts on the moon.
Well, one of the important factors, perhaps, according to Wernher von Braun, the most important factor in going to the moon was that a specific date was set, a specific goal was set. Would you today set a specific goal for Mars, and what year would you put on it if you wanted to do that?
I would, and I don't think 1981 is too soon. I think it's well within our capability to do so, and as Neil pointed out, the very nature, the long duration of the trip requires a careful design and testing of the equipment, which could easily be done in Earth orbit with a number of ancillary benefits in terms of Earth resources, observations, and other things which the non-Mars people would propose as well.
Would you agree with 1981?
I certainly think it's well within our capability to be prepared for that date.
I certainly think it's well within our capability to be prepared for that date.
Hello again, I'm Chuck Todd, and welcome to another edition of Meet the Press Reports. It's been 54 years since we first landed astronauts on the moon. And today, America is in another space race. Not just back to the moon, but using the moon to then go to Mars. It's a rare moment that also means bipartisan support, big budgets, and a mission to go big. But while the first space race was with the Soviet Union, this one is with China. And there's even a third player in the mix, SpaceX founder Elon Musk, and he aims to beat both countries to Mars.
In 2021, Elon Musk told me humanity must reach for Mars and beyond if we are to survive.
I think it's important that humanity become a multi-planet species and that we extend consciousness and life as we know it beyond Earth.
And there's another motivator, China. U.S. generals warn China appears determined to create a military presence in space, starting with the lunar surface. It's already built a robotic base on the far side of the moon, with plans to land its own astronauts by 2030. On Mars, only the U.S., Russia, and China have successfully landed robotic rovers, but the U.S. has had far more success. Washington State Democratic Congressman Adam Smith is the ranking member on the Armed Services Committee. Is it imperative that the U.S. gets to Mars before Russia or China?
You know, China's a major power, we're a major power. If we stumble into conflict, that has huge negative implications for the entire planet and for space as well. But in the short term, yeah, we need to be competitive here. China, I think, is very aggressive. President Xi Jinping has made it clear that he thinks that the U.S. is a disappearing power and he wants to replace us. So that competition is real in a lot of places, and certainly it's real in space. It's real in the race for the moon and in the race for Mars.
A round-trip mission to Mars could take 2 to 3 years. Just keeping a crew fed would be a massive challenge. Then there's the risk of prolonged exposure to fatal doses of space radiation. So to cut the travel time, America is going back to the future.
This project was called NERVA, Nuclear Engine for Rocket Vehicle Applications.
To the 1960s and a government program most Americans have never heard of to develop nuclear-powered rockets.
Someday, a manned trip to Mars and return may become the mission assignment.
It turns out they made big progress back in the 60s, running big, expensive tests.
These tests will complete the technology for a nuclear rocket engine.
DARPA.
Fast forward to today, and NASA and a Pentagon department called DARPA, the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, are going back to their grandfather's programs 50-plus years ago.
3, 2, 1. Boosters in ignition. And liftoff of Artemis 1.
The goal, sending astronauts to the moon and beyond on nuclear rockets.
Look at the clarity of this. Look, this is a star nursery. This is the cosmic soup that creates stars.
NASA Chief Bill Nelson.
Future missions will have international astronauts. We go openly back to the moon and then to Mars. The Chinese government is very secretive, and a lot of their plans involve their military preparations. And so there's a reason for us to get there first. Can we sustain human life in a crew all the way for 2 years the first time we go to Mars? That's pushing it. So if we can get there faster, then that's what we need to do. And that's what this nuclear propulsion will do. And it's safe.
NASA and DARPA insist the rocket's nuclear thermal reactor will never be tested here on Earth. So the Draco test will happen in space, the first since the 1970s, scheduled now for 2026 at a safe distance from Earth.
If there were any sort of a nuclear accident in space when you're testing this, could that radiation come down to Earth?
No. So we have chosen our altitude such that we are far away enough from the Earth, and the farther away you get from the Earth, the longer you stay in space, that we will stay put in space long enough such that those radiation products will never make their way back to Earth.
For hundreds of years, they would stay in space.
Yes.
Okay, but how likely is it that humans, Americans, will actually travel to Mars by 2040, as NASA suggests? And do we really need to send humans to Mars?
As an astrophysicist, we figured out some decades ago that I could send you or I can send a robot to this destination.
America's best-known astrophysicist Neil Degrasse Tyson is skeptical.
I'm all for people in space, but to accomplish scientific goals, the robot can live off of sunlight and you can't. The robot is not going to cry because we ran out of money, we can't bring it back.
You don't see this happening in the near term.
Correct, unless there's a geopolitical force operating, such as what happened with Sputnik, okay? What would that be? China says, leak a memo saying they want to put military bases on Mars. We're there in 12 months. 3 months to fund, design, build the spaceship, 9 months to take it there.
But Elon Musk is all in.
We need to get Starship operational in order to have a base on the moon and be able to send people to Mars.
Musk has plans to build a colony on Mars. Back in 2021, he talked about his hope for his Starship to carry humans to the moon and then the red planet. Because gravity on Mars is just a third of Earth's gravity, a rocket would not need as much power to return to Earth. Musk's plan is to reuse rockets just like airplanes.
The risk is not zero. This is it's a hard thing to accelerate, put so much energy in something and then take it out on the return. It's a very hard thing. So it's one of the hardest things. So you just can't get to zero risk. We'll do everything we can to get as close as possible to zero risk.
Just as Sputnik lit the fire for America's space program, China's ambitions may be having a similar effect today.
The fact that we now have a very aggressive competitor, I think all the more makes it a space race. So why are we here today? I'm pleased to announce that the nation's next big development in space technology is a major investment in getting to Mars. NASA will partner with our longtime partner, DARPA, to develop and demonstrate advanced nuclear thermal propulsion, a revolutionary technology that will allow the United States to expand the possibilities for future human spaceflight missions.
That he thinks that the U.S. is a disappearing power and he wants to replace us. So that competition is real in a lot of places, and certainly it's real in space. It's real in the race for the moon and in the race for Mars. It's real in the race for the moon and in the race for Mars.
China says, leak a memo saying they want to put military bases on Mars. We're there in 12 months. 3 months to fund, design, build the spaceship, 9 months to take it there.
Musk's plan is to reuse rockets just like airplanes. Just like airplanes.